Good day, grade 10 learners. Welcome to the Online Learning Center. Today's lesson will be on transactional writing. So previously, we did essay writing. So now we're going to focus on the shorter transactional text. And that will be mainly the formal business letters, dialogue, review, and report. So transactional writing for grade 10s that you will be tested on in paper 3. Normally focus on your formal or business letters, your dialogue or your interview form, or your book report, book review, or any other type of review. So today's learning goals, we will learn what transactional texts are, review the different types of transactional texts, and we will learn how to write the following transactional text: a formal business letter, the different types, which is a complaint letter and the application letter, which is also known as the cover letter, very important, and your dialogue format, which you can also do as an interview, as well as your review report format, which is you will be tested on the book review for that transactional text. So the types of transactional text we normally are faced with are the following. Before we go into that, transactional writing texts are either a response or an initiation of a response. So what we mean by initiation of a response is when you initiate contact, when you start a response, when you openly invite somebody, so you're initiating something, you are beginning a friendship. So you normally do that through a friendly letter. For example, a friendly letter of appreciation will yield a warm response, whilst a letter of complaint will naturally receive a disagreeable one or a negative response, depending on how you write it. Transactional texts are divided into longer and shorter texts. So the longer texts are letters, agenda, minutes, dialogue, report reviews, interview articles, and your curriculum detail. So we are normally going to be focused on the longer texts for this presentation. But just to let you know, your shorter texts are diary entries, directions, instructions, invitations, and advertisements. Now, your main transactional text is your formal business letter. There are different kinds of business letters: a letter of application, a letter to the editor of a newspaper, and a letter of complaint. So the main one is the letter of application or your cover letter. In your business letters, as mentioned, it's called a formal letter because your style and tone needs to be formal and business-like. You write as simply and as clearly as possible and keep to the point. So you're not going to deviate from the topic of your letter. Do not make the letter longer than necessary. So as I mentioned, it should be concise and to the point. What to avoid? You need to avoid this in your formal business letters: slang, colloquial language, contractions, abbreviations, and acronyms, unsubstantiated accusations, threats that cannot be carried out, emotional language, sarcasm, or cliches. Okay, this is not a friendly letter, so you cannot use slang or contractions because you're not writing this letter to a friend or somebody who will understand your colloquial language. You're going to be writing a formal, business-like letter. It's got to be a professional tone if you want to receive a positive feedback. So the structure of the business letter: all letters, as you know, should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. There must be two addresses, the writers and the recipients. The date follows the writer's address and both should be written on the top right-hand corner. So you would start with your address in the top right-hand corner. Everything else that follows will be written from the left-hand side of the page. A formal salutation or greeting, such as "Dear Sir, dear Mrs. Booker," follows the recipient's address, and this is on the left-hand side of the page. A title or subject line follows the salutation. This is a one-line summary of the letter and should be underlined. So that will tell you what the letter is going to be about. That's what your subject line is for. As I mentioned, the language or register must be formal. Your conclusion must also be formal. Yours faithfully, followed by your writer's surname and initials. Okay, so this is an example of a business letter. As you can see, this is your address over here on the left, right-hand side of the page. So your address followed by the date, and you would start with the number, your house number would need mules, or your complex number, unit number, followed by your complex name, 26 Young Road, the road that it's on, your suburb, and then your city, and then your postal code for your city, and the date. Then you would leave a line, and on the left-hand side, you would write the receiver's address. The chief accountant, you address it to the person you're writing the letter to, the title or designation, the company name, PO box number, address, which might be a PO box number, followed by the suburb and the postal code. And then you leave another line, followed by "Dear Sir" or "Madam," leave a line, and you would write down your subject line, which is the reason for this is reason for non-payment of account number 2745. You will bold it and underline it. You will leave another line, and then you would start your first paragraph, which is your introduction. The reason for the letter, make sure it's very brief. Leave a line. Then you go into the body of your letter, which is the second paragraph. Expand on the reason for why you cannot pay your account. It could either be another 2 paragraphs. And then your final paragraph, which is your conclusion. You also leave a line after your body, followed by your conclusion. There in your conclusion, you would tie up the loose ends and round off the letter. That's where you would give your contact details, and try and say, "Thank you. I expect, could you please help me out, or I expect a positive response, and you may contact me on so and so." Then you would leave a line, and then you would end with "Yours faithfully," and your after that, in the next line, your signature followed by your name. For women, you have to put your title there, which is either Mr. or Mrs. or Miss. For men, you do not need to put that in brackets followed by your name. Okay, so we're going to go into the complaint letter, which is a common business letter that you will be tested on. So when you make a complaint, your introductory paragraph should be concise and should state the purpose, which is in this case to lodge a complaint. In your main body, you should clearly state the points that you want to make. Keep this as to the point as possible to ensure that the recipient remains engaged. A longer main body may be more appropriate when making a complaint as you may require to add more detail in order to convey the importance of what you're putting. So you're going to, if you're going to do the complaint letter, you're going to explain why you're complaining. For example, if your product is defective, you can explain how you bought it, where you bought it from, how you tried to use it, and you found that it was defective. And you can go into more detail as to what you expect. Then a concluding paragraph or complaint letter should outline what action you would like the recipient to take. For example, you want a refund, or you want an exchange, or you want them to send you more information. The next form of business letter is your application letter, or also known as your cover letter. So, as I mentioned, it's known as your covering letter, and this document is sent with your resume or curriculum vitae to provide additional information on your skills and experience. This is where you're directly speaking to the employer, and where you're going to market yourself regarding your skills, your qualifications, your experience, and how suitable you are for this job. So it provides detailed information on why you're suitable for the job you're applying for. An application letter is effective when it explains the reasons for your interest in that specific company or organization, and also identifies the relevant skills necessary. So, for example, if you love reading and you are good at reading, or you're good at mystery thrillers, and the job requires accounting skills, it's an accounting job. You're going to speak about your qualifications related to accounting. You're not going to speak about your hobbies like reading or anything else. You're going to speak to the most relevant skills or experiences related to that position. So that's why it is so important when you craft a covering or application letter. It needs to be crafted according to the job you're sending it for. So another example would be if you want to go into a marketing job, a hostessing or event job, you are going to speak about your experiences related to what events you have organized. You're not going to speak about the fact that you have accounting experience in that case. You're going to really speak mostly about how sociable you are, how good you are at organizing and organizational abilities. So that'll be totally a different way of approaching the letter. So in your final paragraph, you will give your contact details, cell number, and email address. Very important, because as I mentioned, you can write all this wonderful stuff in your letter, but if you leave out your email, cell number, and your contact details, the employer will not be able to find you or be able to respond to you if they are interested. So it's very important to make sure all your personal details are in the letter. So now the next type of transactional writing is a dialogue. And a dialogue is a conversation between two or more people. Okay, it's not a monologue, which is just a person speaking on their own. It's a dialogue, which is two or more people. So it is a written record of the exchanges as they occur directly from the speaker's point of view. The structure of the dialogue, which is very important. So when we write a dialogue, you will write the names of the characters on the left-hand side of the page. You'll use a colon after the name of the character. So you can see the colons is these two dots in red. So you use that after the name of the character we're speaking. Do not use any inverted commas. The colon replaces the inverted commas in a dialogue. Use a line to indicate each new speaker. Advice to the speakers who have to speak or the present action must be put in brackets before the words are spoken. So you'd have the speaker's name, colon, and then maybe the speaker needs to speak softly or in a timid tone. So you put that in brackets as the description of how to relay that line to speak in a timid and quieter tone. You will sketch a scenario before you start writing. So scenario is a setting where this action, where this dialogue is taking place. An example of a dialogue. So in brackets on top and in black writing is the scenario, and it will be, as I mentioned, in brackets, telling you where the action is taking place and where this dialogue is taking place. So Sifon and Timbio have not completed a task given to them by their teacher. They are contemplating bunking the class. This is all in brackets above. And then we move into the actual written dialogue, the spoken word. So Sifon starts speaking first. You can see all the names on the left-hand side of the page. Sifon, his name, character's name, followed by this colon, and then he speaks. Good morning, Timbio. There's a line, we've left the line here, and then Timbio speaks. Timbio, colon, wearing a frown. Now, wearing a frown, this is in brackets because we are explaining how Timbio is responding to Sifon. His expression will be one of a frown. It's not going to be smiling, it's going to be frowning. So when you do this dialogue out in class, if somebody has to enact it, they will know exactly what expression to use when they are speaking. So Timbio, wearing a frown, replies, there is nothing good about this morning, my friend. I hope yours is better. Sifon then replies, once more character's name, colon. If it is about the writing task we expected to submit today, then you are not alone. Timbio, colon, also another expression in brackets. So Timbio replies with a twinkle in his eyes. You know what, Sifon? I do not have to know anything. I know what that look means. Timbio. Do you know me that much? My friend, you know what they say about desperate measures. Why don't we bunk the English period? We can cook a better story to explain our absence than to sit in class and be told the failures we are. Sifon replies, just why did I choose you for a friend? You have more tricks up your sleeve than the devil himself. Bunk classes? My answer is an emphatic no. I made my bed, so I must lie in it. Timbio. Colon. Okay, Mr. Morrow, let us see what Lisbeth, with whom you are so smitten, will think of you after the dressing down you will receive in class. Sifon. When is the English period again? I think I've spoken enough English today to miss out today's. Timbio. Once more expression, in brackets, Timbio with a victorious smile. So he's smiling victoriously when he replies. And I thought I was the devil. Sifon. Do you have to rub it in? Timbio, another expression, with a grin on his face. By the way, you better have a good reason for how we're missing the class with the teacher tomorrow. Otherwise, Elizabeth, Sifon, resignedly. So these expressions is finally resigned. I should have caught the devil himself. So it's a very nice, interesting dialogue, and it makes it more interesting because you know there's expressions here explaining exactly how each character will be responding to the action. Okay, the next type of dialogue is an interview. Okay, so an interview is similar to a dialogue in terms of structure, but the major difference is that the one speaker probes the other by asking questions. So in an interview, for example, if you look at this picture, we're looking at a radio interview here. And in a radio interview, the DJ will normally invite a speaker to the radio station and interview them and ask them questions, relevant questions. And that, so there'll be an interviewer and an interviewer and interviewee. And the interviewer will ask the interviewee questions about themselves or about some relevant topic. And that is basically what interviewers, the interviewee would respond to those questions as best as possible. The result is most often what the interviewer wants to portray of the interview. So depending on the type of questions the interviewer asks, that will be what will be portrayed about the interviewee. So sometimes they might ask, if the interviewer wants to shame the interviewee, bring them in to cause a scandal, I might ask them scandalous questions that are not so, that will point out the negative points of the interviewee. Or if they want to show the interviewee in a good light, then they would ask them questions that would actually point to their strengths and good characteristics. As I mentioned, example of interviewers are radio, TV, or celebrity interviews. The structure of the dialogue, the names of the speaker are given on the left-hand side of the page. A colon is used after the name of the character who is speaking. A new line is used to indicate each new speaker. Another example of an interview is the job interview. So we have the celebrity interviews, and then we also have a job interview. For example, popular questions in job interview would be, what interests you about this job? What are your future goals? How do you handle stress and pressure? What can you do for this company? And in a job interview, it's basically the interviewer, the employer, interviewing the applicant, interviewing the applicant on questions related to the job and their experience and qualifications. So it's structured towards a goal of seeing if this candidate is suitable for the job. Another example of an example of an interview. So here we have a celebrity interview, okay? And once more, we've seen in the dialogue, the action is written above all the dialogue and all the talking, and it's put within brackets. So Zwelakhe Shangase interviews Ray Levin Ray, here SA Chief Executive Officer, about the 2010 team buses handed over to FIFA. So this is what the interview is about. We start off with Zwe, colon. G'day Ray, how many buses did your company hand over to FIFA? Ray. G'day Zwe, 32 buses were handed over to FIFA yesterday. Zwe, what will the buses be used for? Ray. The buses will transport teams, members of the organizing committee, other FIFA official referees, and the media between hotels and stadiums. Zwe. What features do the buses have, Ray? Ray. These 54-seater buses are equipped with two bar fridges, a toilet, cameras mounted on the rear window, and a monitor on the dashboard to give the driver a clear view when reversing. Zwe, our team allocated individual buses, or, and here the interviewer chuckles, or can we have different teams in the same bus, Ray? Ray, that's a good one, Zwe. Each team is allocated a personalized Hyundai Universe Express Noble bus, decorated with the team flag and slogan. For example, the bus that carries Bafana Bafana will display the slogan, "One team united under one rainbow," and the South African flag. Swear, this must have been, this must have cost Kia and Honda an arm and a leg. Right. It did not come cheap, swear. The buses cost 2 million each and were manufactured specifically for the World Cup. Swear. Finally, Ray, what is going to happen to the buses after the World Cup? Right. The buses will be sold to defray some costs. Swear. Thank you very much for the information, Ray. Ray, you are welcome. So if you see in this interview, there's a specific point here, a specific goal. Zwelaka, the interviewer, Sway, wants to know about the buses that were handed over to FIFA during the 2010 World Cup. And he's asking specific questions related to that, about the buses, how they're equipped, how they're decorated, whether each team has their own buses or whether everyone's going to be in the same bus. So that was the focus of this interview, and the interview was written and structured towards that focus. And if you notice that those questions were specific to that purpose as well. Finally, moving on to your third type of transactional text that you would be tested on in your paper 3, your review or report type. So a review is an individual's response to a work of art, film, book event, or culinary offering. When I mean culinary offering, I mean like a meal or a dish that somebody has cooked. Okay? The reviewer projects his or her judgment to the work presented. So this is where they will personally review or judge a work. The reader of the review doesn't have to agree with the review, okay, because the reader knows that it's a subjective point of view. A review as a result is subjective, so two reviewers may respond differently to the same textbook, for example. And here's an example of it. So the book in question is The Lord of the Flies by William Golding. And here's a little blurb on the first review. For example, one reviewer may project Lord of the Flies as a base adventure story of boys who find themselves on an island and through some work of fate are rescued. This reader reviewer might find it unacceptable that the novel was even prescribed. The other viewpoint from another reviewer. To this other reviewer, this may be a thought-provoking piece of work that seeks to show how evil man can be, left all by himself and without rules. This reader reviewer may support it being a prescribed text as it instills some morals in the learner. So here there's two types of reviews of one book, and it's subjective from the reviewer's point of view. Okay? Some people may not like the book, other people may like the book and have a positive review of the book. Okay, the structure of a book review. When writing a review, the following must be covered. Give relevant exact facts, for example, the name of the author, producer, or artist. So the producer artist would be when you are reviewing a movie or a series or TV program. The title of the book or work, the name of the publisher, production company, the price be applicable, and then you would discuss briefly. You would now go into more detail on the book. Your genre of the book, example, is it an adventure story? Is it a horror story? Is it a mystery thriller? Then the setting, where is the story set? If you're looking at a book review, where is the story? Where does the action take place in the book? Also, if it's for a movie, where does the action take place? Which country, which time frame? Maybe is it a planet? Is it on another planet? Is it in another country? That's what we mean by setting. Then you would talk about your characters. Who are the characters in the book or movie? Who are the main characters? And you'd also describe them. Then you talk about the style of writing. What type of writing? Is it written? Is it written in a formal style? Is it written in a humorous style? Is it written in? Is it tense? Is it scary? And then the atmosphere of the book itself. Do you find it a lively atmosphere? Is it interesting? Is it? Do you find it relevant to the story of the book? The plot is the outline of the story, and you would discuss the plot, which is basically what the story is about. And then you would go into your conclusion and suitability of the book. For example, would you recommend the book to others? Do you like it enough to recommend it? And then you would give your rating based out of 5 stars. So 5 being excellent and 1 being extremely poor. We also have a book blurb, which I wanted to speak to you about. And this you will not be tested on, but it's good for you to know. So a book blurb. Publishers, magazines, and newspapers offer reviews to their readers in the form of a book blurb. So when you are browsing a library or a bookstore and you take out a book, you normally look at the back cover of the book to read what the book is about. That is what a book blurb is. This is given on the inside cover of a book or the back cover, or sometimes a separate flyer or pamphlet. An example of a book blurb. Okay, all Harry introduced the main character. All Harry knows is a miserable life with the Dursleys, his horrible aunt and uncle, and the abominable son Dudley. Harry's room is a tiny closet at the foot of the stairs, and he hasn't had a birthday in 11 years. So, which character and which famous book is this? Harry Potter, of course, yes. And as you can see, it's a very simple but very catching blurb at the back of the book. And you want to know more about this Harry Potter character. Why is his life so miserable? Why is his aunt and uncle so horrible? And why does he live in a tiny closet at the foot of the stairs and hasn't had a birthday in 11 years? Okay, another book blurb. It's taken me 25 years to write this book. Give me 25 seconds to persuade you to read it. I'm a persuasive writer. I've spent the last quarter of a century selling everything from political ideas to poems. I've learned how to use words in a way that cuts through the clutter of modern life and connects with people, influencing what they think, feel, and do. Now I want to share what I've learned with you. Whatever you may need to write, I'd like to help you learn how to make every single word count. Speaking of which, counting, I mean, are my 25 seconds up? Okay, then just buy the damn book. Thanks. So if you notice the style of writing there is much more informal. He's speaking like he's speaking to a friend, but he's speaking to the reader in a much more friendly, on an equal basis. It's not looking down at the reader, it's speaking to them and their level. And in this book, the writer is actually trying to persuade you to buy the book and tell you he is going to teach you how to write and persuade other people. And it's a tongue-in-cheek sort of tone and style. Another review is a drama review, and an example of a drama review I would like to just go through with Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. As you know, grade 10s, you are being tested on Romeo and Juliet as the play for the year. So this drama review was done for the Romeo and Juliet play that was shown at the Artscape Theatre Centre, Cape Town in April 2010, and the short little review on it. The Montagues and the Capulets run competing soccer teams in this contemporary, cutting-edge version of Shakespeare's classic, perfect to get you in the mood for the upcoming Soccer World Cup. They play directed by Roy Sargent, sees Dean Roberts, and Zwanwa Nokesh, and Zwanwa Jokweni, star-crossed lovers whose affair causes 8 balls up. The show is designed to appeal to grade 10 and 11 learners studying the play. There will be special data and performances and Artscape to accommodate school audience. Contact Artscape at www.artscape.cosa for further information and bookings, adapted from NVA April 2010. If you look at the structure of this review, it's got the title on the left-hand side. It's got the name theatre, the location of the theatre, so Artscape Theatre Centre, Cape Town, on 16 April 2010, and the date of how long this drama is running. And then it goes into introducing the play. And in this instance, it wasn't just a normally contemporary play, it was Romeo and Juliet set as shown as competing soccer teams, okay? And this is because of the 2010 World Cup. So that is why they showed the play in that light to bring about, to also dramatize the events, local events taking place during that time as well. And then they go into who the play directed by, and also the main actors, which are Jean Roberts and Sandra, who play Romeo and Juliet. It also tells you the target market of the play, which are the grade 10 and 11 learners studying the play. Tells you when the performances are to accommodate school, special data and formula, and also tells you who to contact. Okay, and then it also tells you where this review was. It was published in India, April 2010. So a very short review, but it gives you all the pertinent information. And that's all we have for today's lesson on transactional text. I hope you understood and enjoyed the lessons grade 10. So keep calm and enjoy grade 10. Thank you so much for listening to Online Learning Channel.